So thank you everyone for attending this meeting, and thank the organizer for the organization of this meeting in these difficult times. And I want also to thank you all the team that collaborate in collecting the data needed for the survey during a pandemic, which was a very remarkable effort. And I will talk about the harmonization and the reporting of the data collected in the 2020 during the EMSURV survey field data. As has been already said, there was a lot of team involved in this effort around the whole Europe. And I think it was a great success just to get people involved in doing this without any economic reward or assistance. And before the start of the EMSURV, the harmonization of the data and the collection started by organizing and agreeing upon a standard protocol, which is now freely available on the internet if you want to check it out, if you didn't already see it. And to ask people to agree upon a minimum requirement effort in the data collection. So we asked for survey at least three sites, at least 10 kilometers between sites. In each site to place at least 5 ovi traps, distanced between them in order to avoid resampling the same population of mosquito, to carry out biweekly collection, and to monitor the peak of the population. That was a priori choice that also define the type of data we were going to collect. We also encouraged to use tools that are already available to harmonize and to report data at the European level, such as the VectorMate initiative. But obviously, if some teams were able or were willing to put some more effort, there was also a recommended requirement. So we asked to, if possible, to increase the number of sites surveyed, always maintaining the distance between sites, to put trap in different environments, so to monitor different type of land cover, land use environment, to also add the adult trap to the monitoring, to carry out weekly and not biweekly collection, and possibly to monitor the whole mosquito season. In addition, as you saw in the previous presentation, there was the possibility to complement with a citizen science app the monitoring, and also to report using that map the data. So the effort was very big, as you saw. And the teams went out to the field and do their work, and then there was the need to report and to store the data collected. So among the EMSURV initiative, we circulated a data template and asked the teams to report specific data and specific information. So there was an Excel file template where there was a first part to be completed before the field trip, which stored the information, the general information about the sampling and the characteristic of the location name, the country where the data come from, the administrative units where the data were collected, the place, name of the place, following VecMap guidelines. So this part was to do before the field trip when teams were planning the collection. There was a part to be completed in the field. The first part was fixed. I mean, because we asked to keep the trap fixed in the same position throughout the sampling efforts. So you have the trap, unique trap ID, a geolocation, the type of trap, and the land use where the trap was placed. And then a part that was to be completed every time the teams went out of the field. So the sampling name of each collection, the start and end date of the activity of the trap, collect when possible the average temperature, the trap status, if active, good, broken. Obviously some comments, because whoever knows what happened in the field, and the trapping effort measured in days. And then, after the collection was carried out, there was a part to be completed in the lab. So we asked him to record the total number of eggs on top of the pressures. It's possible to identify the mosquito species because, as you know, many European countries at the moment have more than one Aedes invasive species on their territory. To record the number per species, the life stage identified, and if adult traps were used or if the teams were able to develop the eggs up to the stage that the gender was identifiable, to record the number of females or the number of males, and also to report the identification method. Again, if one team was collecting eggs, it was the problem when you have the identification of the species that not every team could collect and etch all the collected sample. So we asked to report in the number of species the total number adjusted for the fraction of mosquito identified of each species to the total number of mosquito used for the identification, which may not be the same as the total number of eggs collected. So this has generated some discussion, and obviously the database and the variable recorded could have been different or carried out in different way. But again, our choice was dependent of the aim of the monitoring, and obviously also by logistic and budgeting constraints, because we should remember that all this effort was carried out by a volunteer basis, and I think also in difficult condition, considering what Europe and the world experienced last year and this year also. So before talking about harmonizing and reporting in a standardized way data, we should always remember that there is a lot of discussion to be made before going on the field, before deciding to do the monitoring, to decide what's the point of it, what result we want to achieve, and if this data will be used for further action. So what kind of information we need to collect, and what kind of people we need to interact with. So how should be data presented and data analyzed. And this is, again, an open discussion because it depends on the situation at local level, on the local necessity of different groups. And maybe we can discuss it more in the following panel discussion. So we organize a workshop to help teams who collect and participate in the AIM survey data initiative to standardize their database among groups and to produce reports of their results. Again, our aim was not to teams to set up a process or workflow of collecting, processing, and then reporting data. So the workshop was forced to be online due to the pandemic situation of the last year. It was the first time we as instructor and organized this kind of workshop, and was quite a difficult task. And obviously now it would be organized better. There's always something to improve, but it was a nice experience. And I wish to thank my colleagues Giovanni Marini and Roberto Rosa, because without their help, it would not be possible to carry out the workshop. And the workshop was organized online, scheduled every 2 weeks. We would have a meeting or a video release. We released 5 video lessons, so teams could look and listen to the recorded video lesson speaking about how to harmonize and reporting the data. And then each video lesson was followed by a couple of weeks by online question and answer session, so they could ask us any question or doubt regarding the code provided. Because we organized the workshop in 5 sessions, where in the first session we provided a short introduction explaining the aims and the requirements and how to install the program, because we used the hard statistical software in order to have a reproducible code then to use in further analysis, and to make sure that everyone did the same steps in the analysis, because the code was similar to everyone. So if the data was formatted accordingly to a data template, which you saw previously, I showed you previously, then the code will be able to produce result just clicking or running it, also without needing a lot of expertise in the use of the statistical software hub. So we released the first session, the first in December, which contains information about the aims of the workshop and how to install the program, to see the data template, what was the requirement. And then we had in the 21st of December, the first Q&A session. The second section was an instruction on how to format the database and provide first quality checks. So how to import the file in R and to tidy the data. I see a noise in the background. I hope it's not from me. The third session was a computation of some population dynamics and epidemiological indexes. So again, this was an R script to compute these indexes and to provide descriptive statistics. In particular, this was the first Bayesian analysis of the dataset for each team. So each team using the code, if the data were prepared and processed accordingly to the previous session, they could provide descriptive statistic, compute some basic index like total or average number of eggs, time of largest collection, and produce some plots, which you were shown in the previous presentation. And finally, session 4 was the preparation of standardized report. Again, we provide the code to each team, and then each team could run the code and produce, hopefully, a standardized report. The report, this is in a HTML format, but it was also provided in a Word format, contain information about the surveillance, what's the number of traps deployed, the number of location. This is, for example, a toy dataset. And some descriptive statistic, the maps where the traps were positioned, and the surveillance result. Again, all of this is if you was set up in order that if teams were add the data stored in Excel file formatted according to the data template provided to them and agreed upon by all of them, and they had tidied and processed the data according to the scripts provided in the previous session, then the report will be automatized to produce the result. And so you could also have plots for all the eggs or adults data, and also for each species. So this was our workshop in brief. And then there was a fifth optional session where we also introduced a further some brief statistical analysis like baseline regression modeling. This was an optional session for which team could, if they wish, participate or not. And that was the end of our workshop. At the end, we also asked some feedback from the participants. And participants were kind enough to provide positive feedback to us. There was 22 responses out of 40 participants, more or less. And most of them thought that they were satisfied with the workshop. And the scripts, they found it for the majority useful, and probably they will use them in the future. So this is positive. And again, we also collect some suggestions how to improve to reporting and the script, and also if there will be another workshop like this, how to improve the interaction and the collaboration between participants and instructors. And also we have some positive feedback about the usefulness of the report. Again, the report was focused on presenting descriptive analysis on this type of data, and with the aim of analyzing where the peak was and what kind of mosquito species and what kind of number each team collected. But again,
excuse me, Mattia,
yes.
You have 2 to 3 minutes left.
Perfect. I have 2 slides, so I'll be in time, I think. So they could be useful in the future, but again, there could be the necessity to modify this report according to local needs. And also, if us as a HaimCost initiative wants to provide a publication on a global report, we need to collate all this report together and maybe run a global analysis on them, which were not carried out in the workshop, that aim only to provide support on each team individually. And finally, most of the team reported that they are going to participate in the joint aims of analysis, but probably they need some help for the reports in the future. So in case the instructor, me, Giovanni, and Roberto will be happy to help if there are any question or any need to improve the report. And having said that, I want to thank all of you, especially the instructor and the organizer of the HaimCost, for this wonderful initiative. I think it was very valuable experience for all of us. And I hope it will be a first step in the integration of the monitoring in the European level, and also will help discussing the usefulness of the monitoring and how we can really integrate it also with digital methods like citizen science app. So having said that, I'm glad to leave the floor for the discussion. Thank you.